Okay, we're going to solve the quadratic equation this time by using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is as follows. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. Go ahead and stop the video and write down these notes that you see here on the screen. Please leave space so that you can write information in between each step. Okay, we're going to start by step 1, and we're going to have to identify the values of a, b, and c of the quadratic equation. You read those values from a standard format equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. That's in standard form, and you'll find the a in front of the x squared, the b in front of the x to the first power, and the c is the constant there at the end. In this case, the a value of this equation is equal to 1. The b value of this equation is negative 20, and the c value of this equation is positive 75. We're going to go ahead and go on to step 2, and we're going to start this process by substituting a, b, and c into this formula where I see a, b, and c. And let's go ahead and do that. So the value of x is going to be equal to the opposite of b, which is negative 20, plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 20 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 75. When we do that, then we divide the entire process by 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. If we simplify this, what we have is, we have negative of negative 20 is positive 20, plus or minus, and then we simplify under the radical. You get negative 20 squared. That's negative 20 times negative 20, and that's 400. And then we get 4 times a times c. Well, that is 300. 4 times 1 is 4, times 75 is 300. And then we continue on by dividing the entire thing by 2a, which is 2. Further simplifying, we get 20 plus or minus the square root of 100 divided by 2. And this we can go ahead and we can simplify it a little further and realize that we have two equations here. 20 plus the square root of 100, which is 10, and 20 minus the square root of 100, which is 10. So we want to be having 20 plus 10 divided by 2, or 20 minus 10 divided by 2. Well, 20 plus 10 is 30, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. So one of my values for x is equal to 15. And over here, 20 minus 10 is 10, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. My other value for x is 5. And we report our answers in set form, so don't forget to put 5 and 15 in the braces. Remember, we call them squigglies because they're hard to draw and they look squiggly. At this point, just to make sure that you're correct, you would take these two numbers and plug them back into the original equation and see if you get 0 on both sides. Well, in this case, 15 squared minus 20 times 15 plus 75 is equal to 0. That gives me 225 minus 300 plus 75 is equal to 0. 225 minus 300 is negative 75. Continuing. And then negative 75 and positive 75 is 0. And I get 0 on both sides. So yes, 15 is one of my values. Let's check the other one. 5 squared minus 20 times 5 plus 75 is equal to 0. Well, 5 squared is 25 minus 20 times 5, which is minus 100, plus 75 is equal to 0. 20 minus 75, 20 minus 10 is negative 75. Continue process. And I get negative 75 plus 75 is 0. Both sides are equal to 0. And yes, 5 is also one of my answers. So go ahead and make sure that you understand this, and you're going to use this process to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula.